Have you ever wanted to get into DVDs but you just don't know where to start? There's tons of them on Marketplace, but you're just not sure whether to bite the bullet on whether there's enough value there or not. Well, today... Bloody hell, I'll just show you. Okay, I don't have much room here, so you have to bear with me, but I bought this lot off Facebook specifically to show you guys what to look out for, the sort of bulk lots you want to look out for, because there are tons of bulk lots on Marketplace that are not worth getting. There are a lot of sloppy reseller seconds, just garbage that's not worth anything, and then there's also a lot where people are just asking too much and it's not going to be worth your effort. So I thought I'd show you this one. I tried to buy it without looking at it as much as possible. I'll just sort of give you an idea of how I go about it when I'm looking. So the first thing I noticed in this lot was $50. There's about 200 DVDs here. It was $50. Now that could be a great deal. It could still be a terrible deal. It's only $50 for 200 DVDs, but that could still be a terrible deal. But I did notice this one straight away. The Justified complete set on Blu-ray. It stuck out like dog's balls because it's the only Blu-ray in this whole lot. So this is money back. So I should get about 70 for this, take off all the fees and stuff, and that's my money back for this lot. So that makes it a lot easier to go ahead and make the purchase because you know you're going to get your money back anyway. So once I see this, I start looking a little bit more into it, and I start to look to see if there's anything else I can make money on. There's a few other TV shows in this lot, but not many. I see a lot of resellers talk about TV shows like they're the be and end all. They're really not. They're good, yeah. If you get a complete set of something and it sells for $70, it's really good. But realistically, if you get 10 seasons of something that sells for $70, you're getting $7 a season, and a lot of them have 6 discs. You have to go through, clean them all if they're dirty or have fingerprints on them. It actually takes a long time to put a 10 season thing up on eBay. It's actually a lot quicker to just list $10 DVDs and you'll make more money. So whilst TV series are good, they're not the be and end all. You know, if you get the complete series of Game of Thrones, that's pretty good. This is just looks like it's the first 4. You can still bundle the first 4. You don't have to have the whole lot. Pretty sure that's the complete set of Deadwood. It's not really worth much. And Hell on Wheels has a lot more seasons, I think. So probably not really worth listing those two. I'm not sure if they go well by themselves. So yeah, definitely look at TV shows, but don't just think it's gonna be everything when it comes to DVDs, because there is a lot more money to be made in DVDs in better categories. All right, kids. See, there's a big stack of kids DVDs here. I normally just ignore kids DVDs for the most part. There's a lot of them. Yeah, it's one of the worst categories in DVDs for 2 reasons. One, they're just so abundant, most of them, and 2, a lot of them, when you're buying them from Marketplace or whatever, they just come scratched to the shit house because kids have been using them basically and they don't look after them. So I try to stay away from kids as much as possible. There is some kids stuff that is valuable, some older TV series, older movies, things like that, but all your Disney and all the really common stuff, it's not worth listing. I only sell DVDs that are $10 and over, and they all comp at under $10. Alright, now we just get into the rest. It's hard to see because I don't have much room and the lighting's pretty bad in here. But we do have this half stack here. The top half is mostly horror. Horror can go pretty good. So if you see a bunch of horror, I recommend looking them up if you don't know them. These ones here, from what I can see from my knowledge, are all not worth listing. Maybe might get $10 out of the original It. But yeah, most of these aren't really worth any of them. But if you're looking on Marketplace and you see a whole heap of horror, you can comp some. You don't have to buy it to comp them. You can comp them straight from your phone. Just look up a few of the horror ones, and you'll be surprised. There's a lot of horror stuff that goes for $30, $40, stuff like that. Unfortunately, these ones don't. All right, now we just got the rest. Now, it's pretty hard if you don't have any knowledge of DVDs. It helps if you have some knowledge of movies. if you don't have any knowledge at all, it is pretty hard because there are so many of them. You can't just buy, you can't be comping 500 DVDs. Like, it's just not worth your time, basically. But you can learn over time. And if you find a few things to look out for, you just gradually learn, and you gradually learn by doing. That's why I'm doing this video, because I think that's the best way to learn, by doing. And I found that out myself when I was buying clothes. I was buying clothes for about 18 months and I never listed any of them because I just didn't want to, and I didn't know anything about it. And then I've listed most of them in like 2 weeks. And now I feel so much more comfortable going to the op shop looking in the clothes, because I know what to look out for. I know what was comping at what, and I know what I've sold and what I haven't sold. So I feel way more comfortable. So I feel like it's just a lot easier to learn by doing. So if you can find a small lot like this cheap, where you can find a few things that you know you're going to get your money back, that's going to be the best way to learn. Then you just got to find which ones to comp. So I'm going to tell you now which ones to stay away from. And that will help you out a little bit. You won't have to comp as many. So your blockbuster movies, all your blockbuster movies from pretty much from forever, but especially from the last 20 years, they're just so abundant. They don't have that much value. Having a look here, Bridesmaids, Law Abiding Citizen, The Fighter, they're not even blockbusters, they're just popular movies. Bad Boys 2, Wild Wild West, stuff like this. Lord of the Rings, War of the Worlds, there's a couple more kids ones in there, Expendables, stuff like that. Don't bother with it. The Marvel movies, the DC movies, the new Jurassic Park movies, all that stuff, they're just not worth listing. And unless you find a new release that's just come out, which is pretty unlikely, there's just so many of them, they don't go for more than $10. So just stay away from those. What you want to look out for is pre-2000s movies. You will find some that are worth money, and going right back to the 40s, 50s, 60s. You start to learn all the actors. You could even just look up actors from the 70s, actors from the 60s, 50s. On Google, familiarize yourself with some of them, because they're the movies that sell, is those popular actors from back then, all those classics. The older people still buy those DVDs, and they still watch them, so those ones sell really well. 90s DVDs, there is quite a few that were released when DVDs first came out, and then they were deleted, and they haven't been released since. So a lot of them can actually go for decent money. I haven't even had a look through this yet, so I don't know if there's any in there, but I will go through it now and just have a quick look. So I'll go through and show you what I would comp. So once more, so you're going to find X Rentals. X Rentals you can still sell. They don't sell for as much, but you'll also find that they will be scratched quite a bit. Westerns sell really well. That goes back to the classic actors and stuff. Some John Wayne stuff sells really well. Some of it is really abundant, but you can bundle it up. If you get a lot of John Wayne stuff, you can bundle it up and it will sell. So the Salvation, I would comp this probably because I don't know it. It goes against what I was just saying, movies that are recent. This looks like it's probably mid-2010s. I think it says 2014 on there, I can't really see. But because it's a Western, I'd probably comp it, and I haven't heard of it before. Very likely that it's not worth anything, but I'd probably comp it. Glenn Ford, going back to the old actors again. These movie packs, 4 movie pack, 3 movie packs, 5 movie packs. Some of them can go really well, especially if it's these older actors like Glenn Ford. So I would definitely comp this. I actually wouldn't comp this. I'd put this straight in my listing pile. Tango and Cash, I wouldn't comp this just because I know it's not worth anything. But this is one of those older sort of style movies. This is Tango and Cash is late 80s, early 90s. I think it might be late 80s. Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell, actors you would recognise. It may be one of those DVDs that's hard to find. It may not. I know it's not, so I wouldn't comp it, but you could comp that. A recent movie, Tears of the Sun is sort of a recent movie. Once Upon a Time in Mexico, it's like a 90s movie, but it's actually not worth much. Lord of the Rings, War of the Worlds, a couple more kids ones there. American Sniper is more like a modern movie. That's actually a fake one. I will show those soon. Wild Card is a modern one. Walk Among the Tombstones, Expendables, Blitz. These are all just not worth listing. So what I'll do is I'll actually go through this lot now, and I'll pull out what's actually good out of this lot, and then I'll be able to show you straight away. Alright, done. Just got this little pile here. That's all we managed to get out of this lot. There's not a ton of expensive ones or anything. This happened Leonard Season 1. This is a Region 1. And it's listed for about 35. There's no sold, so maybe 25 on that one. There's a lot of $10, $12 ones in here. The Vanishing and Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can, they both comped at about 20. The Vanishing is actually a good example of what I was talking about before. It's a late 80s, I believe. It might be early 90s. Jeff Bridges, the great Jeff Bridges, and Kiefer Sutherland. This is one of those ones that you'll find every now and then, and you should get about $20 for it. There's one of those ones that was released early on DVD and you can no longer get, so it's a bit harder to find. So yeah, considering we've already got our money back on the Justified box set, there's a little bit of money in the rest of the TV shows, and there's a little bit here as well. There might be $100 profit maybe out of it, but yeah, like, it's a good way to learn. Just buying a lot like this, like I said, you can comp on your phone before you purchase it if you can see the titles on Marketplace. Just look a few of them up, a few of them that may stick out to you. For instance, this Salvation that I mentioned earlier, I hadn't heard of. It's a modern one, but it's a Western, so I'll comp it. I didn't look at the actors that are in it. It's got Mads Mikkelsen and what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So I was like, oh yeah, definitely comp that, and it comped out at like $15. So anything that sort of sticks out to you that's not really that common, or you wouldn't think would be that common, just look it up. You never know, you might get lucky and you might find a good lot. Alright, a couple of dodgy ones to look out for. Flashback DVDs. They got the Flashback logo down the bottom there. None of them are any good. They're like from a cheap shop. There are that many of them going around, it's not funny. You will find movies with well-known actors in them. If they're a Flashback, don't even bother comping them. A really easy way to tell without having to check if it's a Flashback is the ratings are always smaller. So it's always like the normal M rating will go right out to the edges there. So if you're just looking at spines, you can see that that's a Flashback DVD straight away. And the other one is these fakes. There are tons of these floating around now, especially in op shops. I see them all the time. The front of it looks like an Australian normal DVD. It's got the Australian rating on it, which would make sense. Doesn't have an Australian rating on the spine. I don't know if all of them don't, but this one doesn't. But it has an Australian rating there. It looks fine, looks normal. If you turn it over, the bottom looks a lot different to what a normal Australian DVD would look like, even though there are different kinds. But the biggest giveaway is it says Region 1. So it says Region 1, but it's got an Australian rating on it. It's definitely fake. The other way you can tell is the covers are very shiny. So that's sort of a bit of a giveaway as well. And they're usually in pretty cheap, sort of cheap feeling cases. But yeah, you can't really tell from the disc. They are actually really well made fakes. So, but that's the best way to tell. So Region 1 on the back, an Australian rating on front, definitely a fake. So that's it. There is so much to learn in DVDs, it's not funny. I actually didn't realise until I tried starting to help people how hard it actually is of a category to learn. But you, like I said earlier, the best way I think to do it is to learn by doing. Don't go out and buy a $500 bulk lot if you're not sure what you're doing. But yeah, if you can find a small lot like this, for $50 you can see a complete series of something like Justified, like I had there. Look that up. I'm going to get my money back for that, so it doesn't matter if I don't make anything else out of the rest of it. You will gain knowledge just by going through the lot. So even if you don't make anything through the rest of the lot, the knowledge will be invaluable. And the more you do it, the more you'll learn, the easier it'll be, and you'll just be able to go into op shops and just scan the shelves and just go, yep, that and that, and it'll be a lot easier. So that's it. I hope that helps. It's stinking hot in here. I'm sweating me bloody nuts off. I'm going to go and sit in the aircon for a bit and cool down. Thanks for watching all the way through. Look after yourself, be kind, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.